Good morning, everybody. This is the Thrill of the Chase podcast. I'm Harrison Devonish Mears. With me is Adam Walton. How are you, mate?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm very good. I'm stoked to be having this chat with you. I've followed you for some time now. I think you're an exceptional athlete. I think you're an incredible role model for sort of the next generation of guys and girls looking to play college sports. You've just graduated. You just finished your last year. Has it sunk in yet that your college career is over?
Yeah, no, it hasn't really sunk in yet. We finished up at the end of May last month and just took a week off, and it hasn't really sunk in because I'm still in Knoxville. I still actually have 2 more months of my master's degree that I'm continuing on doing. But I'm sure once my time in Knoxville comes up with school, then it's going to really hit hard that my time in college is done.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been through that. But I also think you had a real good run, an amazing run, really. I think possibly like Australians or like other internationals don't really understand college sports. They might not fully grasp the magnitude of your success in the US in college sports. And I know you're also a pretty humble guy, so I apologize in advance. But I'm just going to list a couple of your accolades from your time in college. You're an All-American for single and doubles, multiple times, right?
Yeah, four-time All-American.
4-time All-American. You're a national champion. You've won multiple SEC championship rings. This year, you became only the 11th player to reach 100 career victories at Tennessee, which is massive. Coming into college, did you think you would achieve what you did over the last 5 years?
No, absolutely not. I came into college as a little kid, and at the time our university wasn't ranked very high, but I always wanted to go somewhere where I didn't have lineup pressure, which was the perfect fit at the time because we were ranked 40 in the country, and I knew I would come in, play middle of the lineup, and just be able to play each time and want to improve. And then it took me a whole year to really buy in. My freshman year was okay at best. I managed to get into the national rankings, but I was ranked quite low, around 100. They rank 125. So my first year was really just feeling it out. And then, we started to create something special as well as a group. We rose from 40 to, I think we finished the year around just inside the top 20. And then it's my next year is where I really took off personally. I was playing line 2 all year and did really, really well in my singles. And our team finished just outside the top 10. So we were starting to put Tennessee back on the map. And then my last 3 years in college, I was able to play line 1 and perform very, very well. I think I improved every year. And, our team finished with 2 Final Four appearances in the NCAAs in the last 2 years, which is huge. We're back in the top 5 in the country for the last 2 years. And we're one of the best teams in college tennis now. And
off the court too. I mean, you're doing your master's degree. Like that's massive. Congrats. What's your master's degree in?
My master's is it's in the business school. I'm doing management of human resources. It's a 12-month program I started in last August. It's been pretty heavy schedule. It's a big step up from undergrad. So managing that as well as high-level tennis and constantly being on the road has never been easy. This was my most challenging year in school and tennis, trying to balance both of them. But I also feel like the more busy you are, the more you use your time more wisely. So I was very time management had improved a lot, and I feel like it'll be, once I finish my master's in 2 more months, it'll all be worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I think I've started a couple businesses since I left college, and when I go to hire people, or I think student athletes, people that went to the US and went to college are like the first people I want to hire, because you have to be so good at managing your time and also thinking outside the box, and managing a social life as well. I think it's amazing for that. But why don't we start? I want to hear a bit about your time before you came to America. So maybe a little bit about your juniors career. You achieved an ITF World Juniors ranking of 60, which is amazing. It's really great. But you grew up in sort of Home Hill in Queensland, right? Which is a really small coastal town.
Yes, very small.
Yeah, there wouldn't have been too many tournaments or like top level players. So how did you sort of develop to become a top level junior from that environment?
Yeah, so starting back to when I was really, really young, grade 1 of school, so 6 or 7 years old, I was just, I had a brother that was a year and a half older, and we were obviously very competitive being that such small age difference. And we played every sport under the sun at that age. I remember on a Saturday, we would go from swimming straight over to cricket, followed by a tennis match in the afternoon, and then a rugby match that night. Like, it was just insane. And we were playing every sport, and ultimately, as you get a little older, you have to funnel some sports out. So then it became down to rugby and tennis. And we were bringing tennis rackets to the rugby fields, and when we weren't playing, we were hitting tennis balls, volleying at the rugby fields, and we were the only ones doing that. And so we knew that tennis was probably the better choice. And I sort of followed in my brother's footsteps. He was the one that chose tennis. Probably we started playing only tennis by age 10, and we would have to make several trips to Brisbane, which is our bigger city, where the competition is a lot higher, because obviously being from a small town, there isn't many people to compete with.
How far is that?
We were 10. It's a 2-hour plane ride, so it's a very far away. But the competition, we were, other than each other, there wasn't really much. We were 10-year-olds having to play adults to try and prove. And I think if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been the player I am, because we were able to feed off each other and make each other better, because that's all we had. And then, we'd have to make several trips to Brisbane to play our own age group and get the level there. And then following that, my brother got a scholarship to a very elite private school in Brisbane called Churchy, and that started at grade 10. And then it was a grade 10 to 12 deal, and the coach there promised me the same deal, but I was obviously a grade below, so I had to start 1 year later. And so that really changed how serious I was taking the sport. I was going from, hitting four times a week to hitting every day by grade 10. And I then once I got to Brisbane, I started training with the school there, which was higher level than what I was getting at Home Hill. And then after that, once my brother had sort of passed his time in school, is when I started to utilize the National Academy of Brisbane. So we were both boarders, by the way. So we boarded at the school, obviously, because we didn't live in Brisbane. And then I was catching a train every day after school and going to the National Academy. I'd train there all afternoon. I was on a gym program. It was the first real time that had a structured gym program, because before that we would sort of just go in and do what we want, which, you're not really working the right muscle groups. And then the National Academy was very good, because they obviously know what they're talking about, and then they introduced me to the right lifts and all the good things that I should be doing. And so obviously the professionalism increased a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And so you're in Brisbane, and you're training at school. You're training with the National Academy. So how does this college pathway sort of eventuate? How did Tennessee become involved? And were you always interested in college? Did you want to go pro, or what made you choose to go down the college pathway?
Yeah. So when I was training with the National Academy, that's when I started to travel internationally for these ITF junior tournaments, and then I started to perform very well. I climbed the rankings quite quickly. I was outside the top 1,000, and all of a sudden I'm inside the top 200, and then got down into the top 100, and then like you said, I reached a career high of 60. which was, qualifying for junior Grand Slams. And then, so from there, I finished my time up at high school, and I wanted to go straight to the pro tournaments because that's the way that the Australians viewed how you should proceed through, the juniors. Then you go straight to the pros. You don't worry about going to college. College is not the option. It's a very bad stereotype because I 100% disagree with that. But that's just what the stigma around college tennis was back then. I'm not sure whether it's changed now, but during my time, that's what it was. And then I actually had a bit of a let-off where I wasn't having the best results, and I was just looking for another option. And, the head coach at the National Academy actually went to Tennessee. Chris Marnie was his name, and I still keep in contact with him quite frequently. But he's the one that said, you should try college tennis. I've been there, I've done that. It's a great option. If you're looking for something new, this is perfect, and you would fit right in. And I think because I'd done boarding school, it was less scary moving. Obviously, it was on the other side of the world, but at the same time, I'd been living away from my parents since I was 14. So that really, made it more easier. And then I got into talks with Tennessee. They weren't, like I said at the start, they were ranked around 40 in the country. And with my ITF rank, I could have gone to higher ranked schools. But at the same time, I wanted a school that I was safe in the lineup my first year. I wanted to definitely make sure there was no lineup pressure. And so that's why, I ultimately chose Tennessee. And it was that was probably to this day my best decision I've ever made.
And I guess that is a really important point, that you were sort of already living away from home. But when you moved to the US, what was the adjustment like there?
Yeah, it was difficult. I struggled my first semester. I was, a little immature, a little, not really aware of how serious college tennis was taken, because it's just another level from obviously high school tennis. It doesn't compare. These guys at the top level of college, they turn pro and they make a living. So, it took me a while to realize that. I was, probably caught in a little bit of the wrong crowd, as you like to say, in the first semester. And then once the season hit of my freshman year is when, I started making better choices. I started to focus with school a lot more. And it was a big change because I remember I went in and, I thought I knew everything, but I really didn't know much at all. And it took time, and it took a lot of trust in the coaches because the coaching styles were very different. But once I really bought in, I saw my tennis just increase at a rapid rate.
Yeah. And are you like a cook for yourself kind of guy, or were you in the cafeteria? What kind of guy are you? I feel like you're a cafeteria guy.
Yeah, so our first year we have like what was called a freshman meal plan, which basically meant we got breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the cafeteria for free. So we utilized that. Our dorm we stayed in our first year, it didn't have cooking stuff, so we obviously just used that, which was a 1-minute walk from the dorm. So it was very handy. You obviously had to. My first semester, I was not eating the best. And I'm not one of them guys that really has to watch what I eat, but at the same time, I do notice a difference on my on-court performance. If I'm eating better, I have more energy. So I sort of changed the way, because obviously the cafeterias, they offer pizza, they offer, a lot of junk food, and then I wasn't going for the healthier options until, the semester of my second semester. So when we started our tennis season. Yeah,
dude, you have to be pretty self-disciplined in the CAF, because obviously they're aimed at a wider audience outside the athletes a lot of the time. But Tennessee is a massive school, right? I don't think Australians would probably understand how big the culture is there around the school. I mean, just the football team has 100,000 seat stadium, right?
Correct. It's bigger than the MTG, yeah.
Right. So talk to us a bit about college life in and around the campus. You're coming in as sort of a wide-eyed Aussie boy, like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was eye-opening. I came into college and there was people everywhere. There was, the football games. I came straight into the football season. So, every Saturday when we had a home game, like I was introduced, there was tailgating, which I'd never seen. There's people that just they literally pull up their ute or truck and they just open the back and they just start drinking out of the back of their trucks just everywhere on campus. It was just eye-opening to see all that, and just the amount of fan base that Tennessee has is just off the charts. I remember walking into that stadium. It's just a massive fishbowl. It goes all the way around, and it was just filled with orange. And there was 100,000 people in there, and yeah, it was just crazy to see it. Yeah,
it is. It's it must have been some experience, honestly. But away from sort of all of that, you're also in a super high pressure environment in terms of the tennis. I mean, your coaches are sort of looking for very, very talented juniors around the world, and they're constantly coming in and everyone's sort of fighting for a spot as high up as the roster as they can. What was that level of pressure like compared to what you were feeling back in Australia, and what was the tennis level like at a top D1 school in comparison to Australia?
The level is significantly higher, and you have to play 5 whole months every single weekend. So you're getting a ton of matches, and you're having to perform every single weekend. You can't have any let-ups. And I just found my first year, I was playing middle lineup, and these guys, they were good. I was like, wow, these guys are good. I don't really know how I'm going to climb to get to the higher in the lineup. The guys who even played 1 and 2 for our team, I was like, I'll never beat these guys. These guys are good. And then, once I started to really buy in and take it very serious, I started to see the results come. And a big thing is belief. You got to be able to believe that you can actually beat these guys, which I didn't my first year. I saw if I was going up against a guy ranked 30 in the nation, I was just like, well, I've already been beaten. It was just a bad mindset to have, but it was, I was just young and just didn't know. And then it took me a whole year, and then after that, I realized that, hey, I can actually beat these guys and start playing better. And I was able to climb the ranks pretty quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, by your third year, you've taken the number 1 spot. And within 12 months, you've won a national championship. So obviously a massive climb. What are some things that maybe separated you from other people at that point? So maybe talk about your technique. What were you working on? Your preparation. You talked a little bit about your psychology. Were you talking to a psychologist at all? Did you work with one in the athletics department?
Yes, I worked with, our whole team did actually. We worked with a psychologist to improve our mental part of the game, but I've always prided myself on my composure and my mental toughness. I think that's such a huge part in college tennis, where the stakes are so high and the pressure is at its highest. You see real nerves kick in on these players, and how you deal with your nerves is huge. I remember even this year in practice, the gap might not be that much between me and my teammates in practice, but when it becomes a match, it's how everyone can deal with them nerves, and I think some guys can do a better job of that, and some guys lack a little bit. But I really think that what stood out for me is that I was able to compete day in, day out, not have many let-ups, and be very strong mentally. They were the biggest things that I found were helped me be successful.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I know from my own experience as a college athlete, I mean, we would have sort of 1,500 to 2,000 students at every game. There's a level of social status and sort of buzz around campus that sort of follows you to social events and even in class. But I also never won anything. So what was it like for you with all this success to then, win a national championship and come into class on a Monday, for example, the next year? Did you notice a change in how people treated you, and what was the social attention like away from the court?
Yeah, I mean, tennis is one of them sports where it's not that mainstream. So, at the start, it didn't really matter. Like no one really cared. But once our team started to get good, I feel like, the general public start to recognize you more and goes, oh, that guy plays on the tennis team. And then it sort of became, well, that guy actually, he was on the top of his tennis team and he plays number one, and this is the guy. And, I feel like the way our outdoor stadium is set up, that all eyes are on courts 1 and 2, just the way the stands are set up. And so you get a lot of the people that come to the games, they just really watch 1 and 2. So you're getting a lot of that attention as well. But with that comes a lot more pressure because, all the eyes are on you. So you have to perform. And, we've had the last 2 years a great freshman that came in. He was a sophomore this year. He's played, line 2, and he's been one of the best guys in the country as well. He's taken on that role very well. So... he's started better than what I started, so I'm excited to see how he's going to finish his last 2 years at Tennessee.
Yeah, totally. And that sort of brings us to the present day. I mean, a few weeks ago, unfortunately, you were eliminated in the national championships in the semifinals of the individuals. Obviously, heartbreak. What's your feeling like now, having to move on from college? Because personally, I was ready to go. Like, I was so ready to leave. I felt like I had done everything I could. I'd grown as much as I could, and I was ready to sort of explore other opportunities. But what's your feeling like at the moment?
Yeah, I was for sure. I was ready to be done with college tennis. I'd been playing college tennis for 5 years. I'd reached, pretty much the heights. Our team got to number 1. Me and my partner got to number 1 in doubles nationally. I finished number 2 in singles nationally. So, I pretty much finished at the highest of the highest you could get. And, I was ready to be done, but that NCAA tournament, I knew that was my last chance competing for the college. And so I came in with the goal of, I wanted to win the whole thing. I believed I could do it. I was probably 5 to 10 in terms of favorites to win it. So I wasn't one of the 1 or 2 that were meant to win it. And I actually, once the draw came out the 2 days before, I was in a really, really rough section of the draw. Our section was just absolutely stacked, and compared to other sections. And then, round by round, I got through my first round. Had to play a really, really tough guy from Northwestern second round lefty. Once I got through him, I thought, I'm in the round of 16. This is where I got to last year. And I was like, okay, I want to do better than that. So then I had to play a really tough guy, third round. I had a really close set, got through that one. And then I thought, once I got to the quarters, it was getting to the business end. There was, you should see the start of the tournament. It is an absolute rat race. There is so many people, everyone's struggling to find practice courts. It's crazy what goes on the first 2 days. And then it just weeds out like crazy. And by the third day, the round of 16 day, there's not that many people. And then by quarters day, there's really not that many people. And my quarterfinal, it could have gone either way. I played a guy from Kentucky. I lost the first set. And then I got the second set, and we were going back and forth in the third set. And then I ended up having won that in a third set tiebreak, 7-6 in the third, which honestly could have gone either way. It was a very high level match. And then, I got to semi-finals, and I'm playing the number 1 seed, who was the guy to beat all year. He'd had the best results all year, and I'd played him twice. He's from Florida. I'd played him twice during the season and then in the SECs. So I'd lost in 3 sets and then went unfinished the second time. So I knew it was going to be a close match, and it rained that morning, so I had to play indoors, which probably hurt me a little bit. But I ended up getting that first set, and by then it was just like there was a lot of people just watching, and there was no actual tennis players left. There was only 4 people in the draw. And so then I remember, I won the first set, I lost the second set, and then the third set we were just going back and forth, and he come up with the goods right at the end there. It was 5-all, deuce point, and he actually went to serve volley. He fell over and hit a winner from the ground, it was insane, that shot. And then he broke me on a net cord to finish with. And that moment right then was very tough to swallow. I was very deflated when that happened, because I knew that I'd come so close to winning the singles, because I'd won the doubles the year before. I knew I was very close, and it was tough for the next, probably 1 or 2 hours. And then, once a time had passed, it was easier to swallow. And looking back now, I'm very, thankful of the career I had. And, I'm glad to be done with college tennis. I'd been around, I'd achieved everything but more that I would ever want to have achieved. If you told me coming in that you would be a 4-time All-American, you got to 1 in doubles, you got to 2 in singles, your team got to number 1 in the country, like that's, I would have just laughed at you. Absolutely.
I think you can't be anything but grateful. You can't be anything but proud of yourself, mate. You've done incredibly well. The podcast is called The Thrill of the Chase, and I guess it's because athletes, we're all chasing something. We're all hunting down that next mountain. What's next for you? What are you chasing now? Are you thinking to continue with your tennis, or what do you have in the back of your mind?
Yeah, so the number one goal right now is obviously to graduate past all my classes this summer. So my summer schedule is going to look kind of light on the pro schedule. I'm playing a pro tournament next week in Indiana. I'll play a couple in July. But as soon as I've graduated in August, I'll be looking to play most weeks of the year and try build my ATP ranking as high as possible, and see where it takes me from there. I've already talked with Tennis Australia, and they're gonna provide me with some opportunity in September, October with some pro events back home. So that's why I'm going to go back home during those months, and then I'll look to travel to Europe, to anywhere in the world, to try build my my ranking. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm really excited for you, mate. I want to wish you the best of luck. I also want to thank you for coming on the show. I mean, you've given me about 30 minutes of your time. So, I'm really grateful for that. If you could leave us with sort of just your thoughts on young athletes in Australia who are thinking about coming to college, top level juniors, or even players further down the rankings who might not be completely convinced, what might be something you would want to say?
I would recommend that they take a chance. It's a big move, moving across the other side of the world. It's not easy, but it was the right thing for me, and I think it's the right thing for a lot of people. And a lot of people, it's a missed opportunity if they don't take it. The one thing that I would say to people is they're not locked to anything. If they really hate it that much, they can always just come home. Like, life's simple. You can just come back home and continue your life as you would have. But if you don't ever give it a go, you'll never know. So, I mean, whether you were ranked as high as I was coming in, ranked even higher, or ranked right down the bottom, it doesn't matter. There's a school for you. There's plenty of top tier schools, there's plenty of mid-tier schools, and there's plenty of low level schools, and they're all, you're all going to have a great time. And these last 5 years have been the best 5 years of my life, off court, on court, everything in between. And the best part about it is I've been able to play my sport as well as get 2 degrees. So, that's the one thing that I've really enjoyed taking out of that is, I have 2 degrees after when I try play. If it doesn't go so well, I can always fall back on them.
Absolutely. And a crazy amount of life experience, I'm sure.
Yes, for sure.
Well, guys, that's all we have time for today. If you're still listening, it probably means you have a strong interest in the US and playing college sports. You can find me at Harrison Athlete Management on Instagram. Send me a DM if you're interested, and I can let you know how I can best help you get over there. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time with new guests.